And there it is. Dude, speaking of all the sex, I thought the scene with Braun was kind of the first time we saw just like casual sex in a while.
I agree. And I thought I was fine with it because it was Braun. It makes sense of like you want to introduce him to set up kind of this like other new story of what's he gonna do if he's told to kill like the two guys who are like basically his best friends.
Yeah, I feel like that's a weird plot point.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as he's a sellsword, didn't he kind of say like I'm not a sellsword anymore the past 2 seasons?
Mm-hmm. I guess it depends on Braun's the type of guy who like he's gonna see if like Cersei's gonna be victorious, he'll go with her. He's a survivor.
Okay.
Essentially. He goes with what's the winning bet. So it's like I don't think there's any way he's actually gonna kill either of them.
Right.
I think Braun will probably die in some way, or if he doesn't, like that's fine too. I think he's so minor at this point that like he's just like wallpaper, you know. He's like fun wallpaper that like people like because he's clever and funny and things like that. But ultimately, he's gonna have no real effect on like how everything plays out.
So I was trying to rewatch the whole series up into this moment, and I think I got to I got to Hard Home.
Okay.
And then I started jumping around.
Okay.
But the season with Oberon.
Mm-hmm.
And Tyrion goes. Okay, so Tyrion goes to Bronn and says, "Dude, I need you to be my champion again." And Bronn basically tells him like, "I can't. Is he a knight already?"
I think he's maybe even a lord at that point.
Something's happening, right? Like Cersei promises him like this wife and a castle and like all this shit.
Yeah.
And he basically tells Tyrion like, I can't fight for you.
Right.
I thought like that's like the beginning of him more like hanging up his like mercenary ways, right?
I think the reason he does it though is because he knows he would lose to the Mountain.
Okay, so back to him being a survivor.
Yes, I think that's ultimately why he says like, I'm not doing this, because he's like, I want to live. I care more about living than I do about any like relationship I have with anybody.
Right. I did like it. I think that's that scene where he's like, yeah, you're right. We're best friends. What have you ever done for me?
Yeah, he does do that.
And I thought that was like really like in a moment where you think Bronn's kind of being selfish, or at least, I don't know, maybe honest to himself. He's got a really good point. Tyrion kind of just is this guy. He's really never done much for him.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you say that, because like Tyrion in the past couple seasons, and I mean the Sansa line when she says to him like, I used to think you were the most clever man in the world.
Dude, that was great.
He's like really not that smart when it comes to the past couple of seasons.
Right, because he fucks up Meereen in season 5. No, season 6.
Yeah, whichever one.
And when I love when she comes back, and it's literally almost out of like a cartoon where shit's blowing up around them.
Yeah.
And there you have those like booms, and he's like, all things said, the city is in quite good shape. And he starts talking about like the economy is flourishing and this and that, and we've done this, but literally the city's falling apart around them.
Right, because they're being attacked. He's just like, he almost started believing his own hype.
Right.
And so like he like every move he makes though is just like turned out to fail. You know, it's almost like Cersei plays him. It's kind of like how when we play games like you play me.
Yeah.
And like I become my own downfall because like I try to out clever you, out clevering me type thing, and then I just like fail.
Right.
Because you know me and my moves better than like I can like try to like do a web.
Right.
And same thing with Cersei and Tyrion.
Been straight, you probably would have won.
Or you'd beat me. Yeah. I think that's what it comes down to. Like I know you win if I play it straight up because you know my moves.
Right.
But and I think Cersei and Tyrion the same way. Like I think Cersei ultimately, like Tyrion will be more victorious than Cersei, but I think that Cersei like plays Tyrion and knows him so well that like she's able to predict his every move and counter it.
Right. So seems like good as time as any. What's up, everybody? This is Benz from www.dropthedice.com. And with me today is our long-standing friend, and it's been a while since we've talked, but our good guy, the man on the street, guy who's always got a bevy in his hand. Alfie, what's going on, man?
What's up, dude?
Just
eating some Minnesota Mexican food right now.
How's that?
I don't know. It's fine. It works for what it is, but like, it's obviously not authentic or whatever.
Rousing review there. So this is going to be a quick podcast where we kind of touch upon Game of Thrones and all of its glory. We'll talk really quick about last night's episode, a little bit about war, and then probably a couple of short topics on plots, at least just some thoughts that I've had recently. So broad generalization, man. What did you think of last night's episode? You're probably the biggest fan out of all of us.
I liked it. It was one of my favorite first episodes of the season.
And I know Bus said that last night too, and I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah,
I really didn't like the Red Woman as a first episode.
Which one was that?
That was the one where at the end of it, Mel takes off the ruby velour.
Oh, and you see she's like a million.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was I don't remember that one per se, but I watched the second one recently because Bay and she was like, well, maybe we can try it again. Yeah. We can just skip through extremely violent and the sex stuff, and then I'll let her know kind of what happened or whatever. And we watched the first episode of season 2 where it ends with babies being slaughtered. And I was like, man, that was a pretty good episode overall, as far as introducing some different things, but that was a rough ending. But right. it was good.
Even the opener to season 7 was it was a lot of setup.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean this one was too. This one, the whole thing was set up nothing. It was.
I thought they did some really good. I mean, maybe because we're at the end, so things are kind of starting to pay off.
That's what it is. I think ultimately, you're finding people who haven't seen each other since the first couple episodes, Jon and Arya, and they're seeing each other again.
Dude, that was huge. Tyrion and Sansa's meetup, I thought was really weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so just because I was following on Twitter, and so many people loved that scene.
Yeah, I know. I've watched some reviews and stuff, and people love it.
I liked it. I like seeing them back together, but it's just crazy to see how world weary Sansa is now.
Yeah, she's hardened.
Yeah, she doesn't trust anyone, dude. Yeah. To use the vernacular, dude, girl was throwing shade at Dany all night.
I know, that was great. I actually loved their little pissing contest.
Yeah.
When
I did not think Sophie Turner was a good or maybe not a good actress, but she stepped up her game.
Yes, definitely. And I mean the line where she's like, what do dragons even eat? Trying to throw shade, and then Dany's like, whatever they want, bitch.
Yeah, I loved that. I thought that was great. I thought Emilia Clarke did a good job at not hogging the scene.
Yeah.
Usually her scenes are all about her, but especially now that she's with Jon and now that she's not even – where was she before? They were on Essos, right? That's the other island.
Yeah.
Now that they're back on the mainland, she has to share it with all these other people, and I think it's really interesting to see that power dynamic play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I thought that those scenes were really good. I think one of the best moments is when you see – Jon standing up talking, and you see Daenerys is looking up at him longingly, basically, and you see Sansa looks at Daenerys and then looks up to where Daenerys is looking at Jon, and then looks back down at her, and you're Sansa's realized that Jon and Daenerys are banging.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, that was. I thought that was cool. I thought they did a lot of stuff with relationships. Nice to see Arya and Gendry get back together.
Yep.
I never thought that they were going to be a thing, but one of my friends at work thinks they have a good possibility to be on the throne together.
My gosh, dude. Is this the same friend that has all the other theories?
No, this is another guy.
I was going to say, I love these guys. They got all sorts of cool theories. I don't think they're going to end up on the throne, but I think they could end up together. They have such a good chemistry, and the way Gendry even looks at her, looks her up and down, is you look good. You know,
yeah.
And you've grown into kind of a woman now. Yes, Maisie Williams looks like a little girl, but I think she's 20 something. So, it's in the show, she's probably at least 16, 18 or whatever. And so it makes sense. Gendry's going to notice her, and that they were friends before, they were legitimate friends.
I would I don't know. I doubt them on the throne, but I would love to see them get together.
Yeah, that'd be super cool. Or I mean, if they don't, like, that's fine. Have them being like buddy buddy, and then like
Yeah, that would. I mean, that just
and you basically see like in the future those two end up together. Like that.
Yeah, which actually would be good storytelling. Just a couple more things, dude. Who is the little Umber boy?
Oh, Ned Umber, who's like the Lord of Last Hearth now.
Okay.
That was in. Did you see in? Gosh, dude, I don't remember if it was last season. I think it was last season. When season 7, did you watch all season 7?
Yeah.
So he gets named like him, and there's like him and a little girl, the Karstart girl or whatever.
Okay.
And they're like in Winterfell, and all the lords are together deciding like what to do. And they're like, what do we do about these two kids whose like families were traitors and like sided with the Boltons? And then I think it's either Sansa or Jon, I forget who was like in charge at that time, but it's like, you guys played no part in this. You're kids. We're not going to kill you. Like we're naming you Lord and Lady of your respective houses, and like you swear loyalty to us now. And they did, and so it was like, and then I knew that kid was going to die though.
Oh, okay.
Like, first of all, opening credits was sick.
Yes.
Starting in the Land of Always Winter, showing the wall going down, even how it like panned up into the wall. And then came back down. You saw like the blue like ice like coming over it.
Yeah, that was
coming
so
up
dope.
to Last Earth. I was like, oh, okay, shit's going down there this episode. And then showing like the in and outs of Winterfell and the in and outs of King's Landing. It makes sense. We're only at 2 places now, really.
Right.
Like that's cool that it showed like going through the halls and then like down into the crypts and all that stuff. That was super cool to see.
Love that. I thought the scene with the kid at the end was horrifying.
Yeah, it was because. I mean, did you see his blue eyes before he started moving? Yeah, dude.
Really scary, which is cool. I don't think the show's done something creepy in a while.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Like that was super. Like I remember I just noticed also, and I was like, that kid's eyes are blue. And I was like, fuck, this is going on.
So 2 other things. Oh, actually 3 other things. One, when Tyrion's like, that's not a bad sigil. At least it's better than an onion.
Oh yeah.
Who is he referring to?
Davos.
Oh. Okay.
Davos's sigil is like an onion. It's like a black ship on a field with like an onion on the ship or whatever.
Okay. So he was taking a jab at Davos.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. The other thing, what do you think about the Greyjoy stuff?
Which part? Like Euron or Asha and Theon?
I mean, I meant Asha and Theon, but I still don't. I thought I started to like Euron last season. I thought he was annoying this episode.
Yes, I agree. He was kind of fun last season, like doing the Jack Sparrow thing. Like he was pretty fun with it. And then the last episode when he did the weird, like when they all got together at the dragon pit and he brought out the White Walker, he was like, I've been all around the world and this is the only thing that frightens me. We're sailing away. I was like, that was kind of a stupid scene.
Yeah.
Like for him, I really didn't like that because it was so unbelievable, Right. And then coming in this one, like I would have liked to see him do something, but just like basically telling the queen that he wants to like, but his whole goal is like fuck Cersei. Like that's kind of boring now. I want there to be more. I want him to like actually the Golden Company works for him, not for Cersei. Like that would be interesting. That like he doesn't care about Cersei and he wants to like kill her type thing. You're muted. Can you hear me?
Oh.
Okay, now I hear you.
No, that was weird. Yeah, I did freeze.
I can't hear you again. Okay, I hear you now.
That's my bad. I hit my mute button.
Oh, okay. All right, we're good.
Okay. So I thought the Asha and Theon scene was a little extraneous for how much stuff we have to get through, unless that pays off somehow at the end. Like, I don't know if we needed Theon to go save Asha, only for Asha to say, "You really want to go to Winterfell, huh? Why don't you go ahead and go?"
Yeah, I felt like he had to do something since he like backstabbed her, but it is weird that now he's not gonna like help her to. I wonder if like that's the last we see of her.
Right, and if it is, I think that's lame. I think if Greyjoy comes maybe Greyjoy's fleet comes to fight the Gold Company because right now Dany has a couple ships.
Yeah, she has. Well, she had the. Oh, that's right. She barely has anything now because her fleet, like Asha and Theon's old Iron Fleet, got destroyed by Euron.
That's right. So maybe Greyjoy comes back to fight the Golden Company at some point.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I like I said, I don't know how I feel about those things.
they're kind of petering out the way that like the Dorne stuff did, where they just like killed all the Dorne characters off and
right. And I was talking to other people, like that's it, right? Oh, are we not going to see Tyrell or Martell this season?
I think they're supposed to basically all be dead. Yeah.
And that girl's I loved Sam.
Oh yeah, that was great. That was
really that good. Again, incredible acting when she told him she killed his parents and he like was trying so hard not to cry.
Yeah, his lip trembles and he like doesn't know what to say, but he still like keeps his manners because he can't be like "fuck you, why'd you kill my brother that I love" type thing. Like, and then I love that the way he tells Jon about his parentage when he's like basically fuck Daenerys, you should be king. Let's go take it. Well, like she killed my family.
And then he throws that line that I mentioned, like Bronn said earlier, of like, dude, would she do the same for you?
Yeah. Oh, that was great. Of like, you lay down your crown for the realm or your people. Would she do the same? Which I think if you extrapolate that out, that doesn't really make sense. Of like,
no, but it was a dope line.
It was a dope line. And when he says, what he says, I'm not talking about the North, I'm talking about the bloody Seven Kingdoms or whatever. Yeah. That was sick too. That was hype.
I also like Aegon 6 of his name just because I don't know the history. So there's been 5 other Aegon Targaryens.
Yeah, Aegon the Conqueror. The 4th was Aegon the Unworthy. 5th was Aegon the Unlikely. And I don't know. I forget the 2nd and 3rd ones.
And then so I saw this online. Jon rides Rhaegal.
Yeah.
Which is his dad.
Rhaegar is his dad. Yeah, it named after his dad.
Dragon's named after his dad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Super cool.
It's super sick. Really like that. And you called it early on. Jon rides a dragon.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just didn't think it would happen in the first episode, but that's fine.
I didn't think it would either. I thought that they were going to tell us that he's a Targaryen before he does, but the show hasn't really gone hard on the like only Targaryens or dragon riders.
Okay.
In like Westeros, basically, like the dragon riders all came from old Valyria. Targaryens were a family. There were lots of dragon riders back then, but now it's like only people with Targaryen blood can ride dragons and tame them. But like the show never talks about that, so it's like because it would be like Jon getting up on it. I mean, Daenerys just being like, "Go and hop on." It's like, I'm sorry, where does she get the idea that Jon could ride a dragon? First of all, and then second, it's like when he does, she should have been like, "Huh, like that's weird." I wonder.
That is weird. I forgot that she doesn't know that he's a Targaryen.
Yeah. So I thought they would. I didn't think he would be on the first. He would ride a dragon on the first episode either because I didn't think that. I thought that they would. Everybody would find out he's a Targaryen first, right? And then they're like over there, and the dragons are kind of like partial to him, and so it's like, well, let's see if I really am a Targaryen, and he hops on and like rides.
Nice.
But
all right, man. I'm excited for this season. We have 5 episodes left at this point.
Yeah, 5. So probably like 6-7 hours of content.
It's a lot of stuff to get through. I feel like Lost. I mean, there's going to be threads that aren't closed unless it's a very stuffed narrative.
Yeah, and I feel like it'll be more so because Lost. I mean, Lost was 6 seasons with 20 plus episodes a season, almost all of them.
Right.
I mean, you have a lot of hours there, but like with that show, I mean, you had things like didn't need to be tied up.
Right.
Like little stories that like don't matter. This one, I think all the big stories are going to be tied up. I think like you're going to know the fate of all the big characters.
Right, but we might not find out what happens to Hot Pie.
Yeah, he might just seriously like be in that inn, like baking pies for the rest of his life, and like that's cool.
Yeah. All right, man. Yeah, it's gonna be sick. Let's switch gears. Let's go to war real quick. You went to Jesse's Name Day, and me and Wes went to Thrones War in San Diego.
Yep.
Wow, like a month ago at this point. 2 months ago.
2 months ago at this point, almost 2 months.
So let's start with yours. How was it, man? What did you kind of take away from that one? Haven't been to both now.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I didn't actually like really go out at all because
Okay.
Friday night we got in pretty late and I was exhausted because I worked early in the morning Friday morning and like didn't get a rest because I was getting ready all day. So I was like really tired. So I just kind of like hung out and then went to bed. And then Saturday night I hung out for a little while, but the raffle took like 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, it was absolutely ridiculous. And so like during that time, like there was a big group of us just like down in the basement looking at your tickets or whatever. And then people were upstairs in the bar partying or whatever. And then like when that got over, I didn't know if I was gonna like need to grab an Uber, but there's a couple that was there. And I'd been talking to them and I was like, hey, can you guys like just give me a ride back to my hotel? And so we all like they gave me a ride back at the end of the night. So I didn't really like stay very long at the party. And then Sunday, yeah, I left after there was like the cut and the trial of three, and then there was like, some different little things, people who were playing board games and stuff, and stayed a little bit for that and then headed out.
Nice. What did you play?
I played Martel Cohort.
How'd you do?
I went 3-4. I felt like I ran into a couple bad matchups that like my deck is just gonna lose to.
Yeah.
Not too many of them. One was Lanny Sun Shadows. That was, so all but one of my attachments are negative attachments. I guess I also have Venomous Blade, but they're all basically negative attachments, and Venomous Blade doesn't do anything because it was literally almost every card was in shadows.
Wow.
There was like 6 econ on the board and like 6 cards in shadows. And I was like, I can't do anything here. And I knew he had his Viper Eyes. I assumed Robert Strong was in shadows. So I was like, I don't want to kill Ariane. I don't want to kill my character. So I was like just super reluctant to do anything. And I would just do like an intrigue challenge. I would do an intrigue challenge and then like, sit back. And afterwards we talked about it. And he was like, yeah, he's like, because he won on time, like 7-5 or 7-4 or whatever. And he said, yeah, he's like, I think if you had just like attacked head on earlier on, like you probably would have won.
Nice.
So yeah, so that was a bad matchup. And then I went against the Tyrell Dragon combo and like just got bent over by that. King Plot, I can't do anything against King Plot as Martel.
Yeah.
And I think he got like 9 or 10 power on that turn. So it was basically over then. And then what else? I lost to the Rat Cook deck, which I knew about and knew like it was a bad matchup for me. But that was like fun to see. And then I lost to Stark Reigns Fat Cat, which I thought I had a good match begin, and I forgot that they started running Beyond Reproach, which gets rid of all negative attachments.
Right.
And I threw them all out.
Yeah.
I think he got rid of 4 of them or whatever, and I didn't need to. I could have kept some back. I've had like Condemned on 2 people, Beguiled, and another Beguiled, and I didn't have to have them all out, but I did. I just kind of like blew my load early, and second plot or third plot, he flips Beyond Reproach, and I was like, fuck, I forgot about it, and
Yeah.
then he just fat catted away, and the game was over. But my wins were all good. I came from behind against Greyjoy. He was playing.
That's huge.
Yeah, he was playing Greyjoy. Like big guys. What was it? It wasn't Wars and it wasn't Crossing. I don't remember the agenda, but he's playing Greyjoy big guys. Big Asha, big Euron, big Vic, all these people. And he was playing though the Balon from the box, which takes a card out of your freaking discard pile.
Yeah, fuck that,
which was sick because he did it. But I had a begging brother to cancel it once that I needed. It was like the key thing I needed was for him not to take my Doran Martell out of my discard pile.
Right.
To like be able to block stuff. And he was up 10-2 or whatever, 10-3 maybe. And I waited a turn to Dohaeris.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was Greyjoy Wolf, that's what it was. Because he had Arya, duped Balon, duped Asha, Bran, Lord Support Shipwright, and like one other little dude. He had like a big ass board, and I knew he was gonna heir to the Iron Throne. To grab like Tazaki the Bran or Asha. And so instead of doing my Dohaeris, I waited a turn and I did Return to the Fields. And I only had 3 characters on the board. Like, no, I didn't have my Flea Bonham. I had like it was Dornish Spy, I think a Begging Brother that had no gold, and something else. And he was like, "Oh, did you think I was gonna Valor when I flipped Return to the Fields?" And because I didn't sack anybody, because I was like, I need all my characters to like not die. And I was like, no, like I thought you were gonna flip this. He's like, well, why would you flip Return to the Fields and then keep all your stuff then?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, I was like, because I didn't want to use my other 2 plots,
Yeah.
Next turn, Dohaeris him. He has to get rid of Balon and Euron. And he flipped Beyond Reproach against me. And I was like, oh, I wonder what he's going to keep or what he's going to do. And so I went first, and I made Dohaeris go first so I could try to get attachments back.
Okay.
Before he got rid of them, and it worked because he got rid of Balon and he got rid of Euron, and so I got 3 attachments back to my hand. And he only got rid of the one on Asha, so he kept like Asha and a Lordsport Shipwright, I think. And from there, I was able to get the attachments on Asha and Southron Messenger back to his hand.
Okay.
Which was a sick play, and that was basically the end. I was able to like rack up to the 15 power quickly after that, just getting unopposed stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was probably my best game where it was like this played like a Martell deck is supposed to. So that was cool. I beat that, and I beat Barrow Watch. She just like, I don't know. I don't even think she had the wall in the deck.
What's that deck supposed to do?
It's power challenge based.
Okay.
Like, not winning, not losing unopposed, like multiple Haunted Force, and like just trying to red keep. I think just trying to win power challenges.
I'm not sure what you need to watch in that one.
I don't know either. I think Haunted Force helps you like on defense.
Okay, sure.
And then, but it was kind of a weirder deck. And it actually at one point, like I thought I was winning the game. I was like, I've controlled this game from turn 1, and I looked down and she's at like 7 power, and I'm at 2 or 3. I was like, hold on, how am I not winning this right now? And so I had to like, I think I was like getting a little sloppy. I had Desert Raider sitting in my dead pile like all game.
Yeah.
Because I just forgot about him. I wasn't triggering them or thinking about it. But I ended up like walking away with that one pretty handily. And then because my attachments were able to like get rid of like all the characters in. Then I also beat what's the other faction? I beat Barra, I beat Greyjoy.
Tyrell?
No, lost to Tyrell, lost to Lanny.
You lost to
Stark. And lost to Night's Watch. Oh, I beat Tark. I beat a Tark Crossing.
Okay, yeah.
15-0 because I naveled his. Oh, I had navel in my deck with at Prince Soren's Behest.
Yeah.
So at Prince Soren's Behest, like first plot every time, and I naveled Trading twice and Late Summer Feast once. And so like that always felt good. I naveled the Tark players Trading turn 1.
Nice.
And then just dominated the whole game.
Man, it seems pretty. I said on the text, like I feel like it's pretty hard to come back from if you don't have any econ.
Yeah, and the only reason I think it worked against a Tyrell Dragon player is one, he has King Plot, which shuts me out for a turn, but he set up the Arbor, so he was still getting 3 gold from that, and then I'm not able to do much early on, especially with naval. Like I only have so much gold. And I think I kind of had a bad draw that game, so I had like my hand was a little clunky with like ambush 4 and 5 cost characters. So I was really only able to do like one thing a turn. I couldn't try to like get ahead real quick. But yeah, the other ones where it definitely hurts whenever you can hit them with it.
Oh yeah, and especially if you can come back from it. Man, I remember having like a good flop with Greyjoy and then hitting naval turn 1.
Yeah, I remember getting naval all the time. So,
or I also like doing sneak attack turn 1, clear your
naval board, turn 2,
naval turn 2 because I'm assuming you're gonna hit a high econ plot.
That was back when. So that was back when what I was talking about earlier before we started this. When I said like there are times like you'll play me and like I'll be my own downfall. I remember you said like I like to naval turn 2. I was like, well, he told me that, so now he knows that I think he's gonna naval turn 2, so he's gonna naval turn 1. And I was like, I'm not going to flip Noble Cause turn 1 in my Tyrell deck. Like, I'm going to do it second turn instead. And then I just get blown out by it. It was God, man. That sucked. But It was super fun. In the Trial of Three, I played Night's Watch, Wars, I played Builders, and I won all three of my games.
That's sick. I want to do that. Our other event, which me and Bus decided not to do, and we just ended up watching the finals, which actually was a lot of fun to just watch like some high level thrones and just talk to people. Ours was the driver.
Driver, and where you put in a deck, and the winner is the person who like their deck and them gets like the most combined wins.
Right, and then so you have the overall winner, then you have the best deck, and then the best driver.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Neil might have had the best deck, and like the best overall was Eric Green, I think.
Okay.
Which sounds like fun, but I going into it, I was so worried about my deck. I like was tinkering with it up until Zach's wedding, pretty much.
Yeah, me too. Morning of, I was still looking. I was like, throwing 1 Doran or 2 Doran. Like, what are my plots gonna be? Yeah.
I ended up playing Tyrell Sun. I was pretty happy with it. I knew off the bat I didn't want to play Tyrell Rush.
Yeah, I liked your deck.
Outside of we were trying to figure out some combo with it that we like was just above us.
Yeah.
I think that Brienne combo is probably there if I could just figure it out.
Brienne, like Big Brienne?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it probably isn't super reliable, but like
and maybe that's what it is that it exists and you can get it, but it's not reliable.
Yeah, you don't have the crazy draw you used to have, but I think it's still like Brienne. I think if you're not using her as a combo piece, but as like she's a main centerpiece of a rush deck.
Yeah,
I think it works really well. I think you can probably get a lot of power on her with like Randall and 9 of Flowers all in like a turn, you know?
Right. Because I was swinging for when we built that deck, I couldn't get 15, but I had swung for like 12 or 13 before.
Yeah, and I used to do that when we kind of built our own little rush decks, and I played Barra Wolf.
Yeah,
I would usually win on the beginning of turn 3. I remember that. I would flip Clash of Kings as my first plot, as my third plot, and I would do a power challenge on the first as my first challenge and just like get all the power there was. And like so I was usually winning by the beginning of turn 3 like pretty consistently. So, you know, I think there are definitely like rush decks that can do that. I like Lanny Crossing. I took that one day to game night here because like all the guys here were on Team Stark.
Yeah.
And like when we would like all be testing or whatever, they would never play a different deck against me when I played my Martel, because why should they?
Yeah.
So I basically was just playing in Stark all day long with Martel Cohort.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, well, this is like, I'm tired of it. So I just played Laney Crossing, and the deck still just like rolls people.
Yeah, the deck's insane. I remember, so I beat a Laney Crossing at War, which I was pretty happy with.
Yes.
And there was that one girl who always cosplays, not Michelle, the other one.
Oh, Christian.
Yeah, Christian. And she, I don't know if she just, I think I just got rid of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think your deck does pretty well against.
Because she saw Tywin, she saw Tywin reduce to Rose Road.
Yeah, so did I.
But I think I Valor turn 1.
Yeah.
And then she saw no more econ after that, which sucked for her.
Yeah, and that deck like needs econ very much.
Then like she ended up seeing Big Cersei at some point, but I was just able to at that point it was just too long. She was going too many turns where she wasn't really able to do anything.
Yeah,
I had enough stuff that would hold her on lockdown. The biggest part with my deck, and I still don't think I found the right balance, although I liked it by the end, is that I still had a weak win condition.
Mm-hmm.
My deck could stall most people using the Tyrell and Martel pieces, but it was that I needed to have Renly out to win. It needed Brienne to win. It needed something to push the tide.
Yeah, you almost needed like regular old Tyrell characters to kind of push you over with like Renown and stuff like that.
Which is, I mean, that's how and by the end I had a pretty good balance where it was working pretty well, but it wasn't as good as I might have liked it. I think I figured that out too late.
Yeah.
My favorite game was against Martel Shadows. I lost, but oh man, it was just both of us back and forth, like blanking this guy, you know, counter, and his play, and he said it too, is I had Renly out for 2 turns. and he pulled Jack in and put it into Shadows for free, and then procced it for free with that one card.
Starfall Spy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and was able to get rid of Renly.
that's rough.
And that was and I thought about it. That's one of those like I totally forgot that Martel Shadows could play Jackin.
Jackin, yeah.
So I didn't even think in terms of when I thought, okay, what could he have in Shadows? Like Lanny, I'm always like, okay, maybe Robert Strong's in there, maybe Varys is in there.
Yeah.
But I totally didn't think about Jackin. Pulls Jackin, gets rid of Renly, and he even said he's like, if that guy stayed, I would have lost.
Yeah.
He's like, I have no answers for Renly in this deck.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, fuck. So that was rough. Greyjoy, I didn't like the game, but I lost turn 1 more or less. Like,
yeah,
I had Varys and he like flopped his whole board, and then I forgot what happened. He played his whole board and he had 2 cards left, and
one of them was the Fanatic.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I won an intrigue claim with Varys, and I had a 50-50 shot. Because it was one of those things where like I knew he had the Fanatic,
right?
And I pulled, like you just knew, and I pulled a road, and I could see it on his face that he was like safe, and I was like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
So I had to do it, so I still proc Varys, and of course he stops it.
Yeah.
I still Valored next turn, but it didn't matter. Like
right.
I don't know. It was that difference. I would have had it, dude, because I would have had gold next turn. Like,
yeah.
That one sucked. I was bummed about that. But I beat a Targ Sea of Blood.
Nice.
Which was, if any of you guys know, that's my kryptonite.
Yeah, Sea of Blood was like the thing I was like most worried about going in, and I didn't see any of it. So that was fortunate.
I mean, just in Targ in general, I shut down against Targ and I forgot how to play.
Yeah, yes, and that's one thing I had to do is I kind of just like ran headlong into him. I was like, if you got the drag, and he did. I think I saw all 3 Dracarises. Like, it didn't matter because I was still like killing his board, and I was killing his hand, and I was getting power.
Well, that's what Roy told me in the first war of like, you can't like depending, but for the most part, if you sit there worried about Dracarys, like you're gonna lose.
Right.
So you got to figure out what you're willing to sacrifice because he's gonna burn something.
You got to bait it out with something.
Yeah. So he's like, so what's he gonna do? He's either gonna drac a small guy or he's gonna let that guy through. So you either get unopposed or you lose a guy.
Right.
At some point you're probably gonna lose something you really need.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to get those cards out because then they're done.
Yep.
And against this guy, that's what was happening. I was just like, okay, I'll just go in. Especially if you had no dragons, I was like, fine, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely. But it just sucks because, like, I know against Targaryen, like, I'm just going to run headlong into it to some degree, But against that Lanny Sun that I probably should have, I didn't. I was so, like, I was just put on edge, and I thought, well, if I can just play intrigue challenges, win those, like, I'll win this game. And, it just wasn't happening. And there came a point where I should have just, like, committed more.
Yeah.
But underhanded methods kept being, like, my worst nightmare. So you put it in Shadows, and then you throw it on, like, the Hound. So I was trying to keep, like, the Hound, like, on the board so I could, like, Valor or something. And so he would bring the hand out of, like, with Flea, because he would goldmine the Hound in to discard, Flea bottom him out, and then do a challenge. I was like, oh, block for more. And then he'd pull underhanded methods out of Shadows. Hound gets +5. I'm like, yep, forgot about that again. Okay, he's back.
I do the same thing with Pinch.
Yeah.
I forget that you have 6 of them in Shadows.
Right. Yeah. And that was actually one of the last turns was he put a Pinch mid-challenge on to like one of my characters. He did a challenge with Tyrion for 4 strength. I didn't defend. He pinched my character. I had Doran out, and so I had to use Starfall to remove one of Tyrion's icons so that if he puts underhand methods on him, I could use Doran to kick him out of the challenge. And I had wanted to use Starfall on like the other character, and so it like sucked that I was like, well, now like I'm stuck having to like, totally messed up my game plan Pinch. And like, of course he had Pinch. I just totally forgot it was a card.
Oh yeah, dude, I do the same thing.
I'm like, why would this deck run Pinch? But it's like, of course it runs Pinch.
Okay, so before we move on to plots, real quick, big shout out to Bus, who for $1 has the best record of any of us at war. coming in with 4 and 3, running his Stark Fat Cat deck. Well, not his, but a Stark Fat Cat deck. Super, super proud of him. The guy, both of us hung over his shit, and he just wrecked all day.
Yeah.
It was cool. It's cool because a lot of times we'll go to tournaments and bust, so it's like he'll lose and he gets kind of down. But man, dude, he was like killing it all day. It was great.
Good. Yeah, 4-3. Like that's what I wanted from this one.
Yeah, and so he was super proud of him. So he, for $1, when we did the math, he was one of the highest value players at War that year.
Yeah. I think him and another player.
Well, so Dan
Jaeger
either made it to the finals or made it to the semifinals. He went for $2.
Oh yeah,
and 8 and something, and we were like, no, like the math works out. Bus is just as valuable as him.
Yeah, that's funny.
Right. All right. So that sums up War. We're gonna take a really quick break, and then we'll be right back, and we're gonna talk about plots. All right. I'm just gonna grab a cup of coffee. Do you have plot stuff?
I took notes on every question we talked about. There's one I added that I forgot to text you about, but it was going to be about do the traits of plots. How much do you think about that?
Okay, I like that. Okay, and then sweet. How good do you know most of the plot names, right?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, I have Thrones to be up right now.
And I have Thrones to be up too.
Yeah, and for the most part, yeah, I think I would be able to get the name of it quickly, if not just on it. Okay.
All right. Keep going like this, dude. By Gen Con, I'll be totally ripped.
Yeah, dude. Dude, that's awesome though, man. I've been trying to exercise too lately. I know I've lost a lot of weight since I've been here, but I slept wrong for Thursday night or whatever, because I woke up Friday morning and or it would have been Friday night, whatever. My whole neck and left shoulder and the upper left back has just been in so much pain. It's been so stiff. I've taken ibuprofen. I'm constantly stretching it, and it's a little bit better now, but it still hurts a lot.
I mean, that bed looks kind of small.
Yeah, it is. But I think it was one of those ones where because I used my Kindle to read. I think I fell asleep with my head down like this, and then just stayed in that position all night. And then yeah, it's it's so bad, and it's totally taking me off from any exercise because I can hardly move.
Ooh. Do you fit on that bed, man?
Not it's shorter than my length.
That's okay. So you literally can't.
I curl up.
Oh,
yeah.
bro.
Well, it's got I'll sit up and stretch out or whatever. But yeah, I can't lay flat.
All right. Next year, instead of helping you get to Gen Con, we're gonna buy you a bed.
Wait. So are we playing Thrones at Gen Con?
Okay. So, you talked to Eric, right?
Yeah, he called me and said that Drop the Dice was. He said he had a ticket for me, basically.
Yeah. So we were gonna all get you to Gen Con. Me and Mark are playing in the tournament.
Okay.
I mean, you're more than welcome to do whatever you want, but I assume you were gonna play too.
Do we know what day it is?
Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, I'll play in it then, because I probably won't come out till Friday night.
Okay. At least I think it's Saturday.
Yeah, if it's Friday, I won't be there. But if it's Saturday, I'll play. Yeah.
And then we're trying to convince Zach to play.
Yeah. Does he play the game still, or?
No, he said he would be down, but then he said he'd rather just hang out with Eric.
Yeah, and I mean those things was if you guys were oh, we're not gonna play Thrones, we'd be all right, sick, let's go play board games all day long.
Well, so that I mean, me and Zach are flying out Thursday.
Okay. And
then I assume buses too.
Maybe I'll come Thursday night. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to figure it out.
So I figured Friday we'd do Gen Con stuff.
Yeah.
And then Friday night, Ryan said there's an awesome party that the SoCal guys throw.
Okay.
So I figured we'd go do that, or
Cool.
I mean, do whatever. There's a million things going on.
Yeah.
And then Saturday we do Thrones, which again, like, if we don't make it, we'll be done with that pretty early.
Yeah. Yeah. It might even be somewhere like we could like drop if like we're like 1-3 or whatever. It's like, well, let's just drop and like go do other stuff instead of playing another 3 rounds of this.
How many games did you play at Worlds?
At Worlds,
you
it was you had 6 rounds before the graduated cut.
Okay.
So 4-2 made it, and there were 2 more rounds of that. They did it differently this year, though. I think they like cut to like a top. I think they did 6 rounds and then cut to like a top like 64-32 or something like that. I don't think they did the graduated cut again. I forget.
So you played 6 games on day 1. You played 6 games, and then that's made it to day 2.
Yep.
And then day 2 there was multiple cuts.
Yeah, and I think at Gen Con, it's the same thing. I think X2 makes it to a graduated cut the next day, or like later that day. I forget.
Fuck, that sucks, dude. Because Mark at the end of War was like, when we were talking about Gen Con, he's like, especially after his performance, was fully like, dude, like, if we wanted to, we could absolutely make it like further than round 1 in Gen Con.
Yeah. Oh, like to the like graduated cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, there's no reason why we're not that good to like at least get there.
Yeah.
No, you're less.
I don't know, dude. I'm very much convinced of like I told you, like, and nothing has kind of like swayed me from this. Of like, I will always lose to better players, to like really good players specifically, and not just better, but like I will always lose to like a really good player. Pretty much, I have won games on like Iron Throne against people that I'm like Reinhardt. I've like played his Tarxia Blood, and I've beaten him.
Yeah.
But like he's beaten me too, and so like I think it's just one of those like I'm not as good as I'd like to be, and I think I also like have to bring a deck that is like much better than I can build. Like I told you, like I think I'm done for a little bit of like building, and I still do a little bit, but they're all going to be based on something that I know should already be good.
Right. I mean I get what you're saying. Like I remember practicing with Neil and just like seeing the plays that he makes and being like, fuck, I never would have done that.
Yeah, like this deck is, and I mean part of that comes from just like playing him more,
Sure.
Like I see new lines in that Martel cohort after weeks of playing it, because I'd be like, oh, I can do this and then this, and like that's that's a really good line.
Yeah, I mean, and then it's kind of like what I want to talk about with the plots of like, oh, like old plots come back into fashion all the time.
Yeah, kind of.
Or cards. Dude, there's cards that like, oh, hey, that card works now.
Yes, that happens where it's like Brandon's Gift, right? Brandon's Gift was a bad card. They released the Night's Watch box. There were enough builders that you're like, oh, we could actually make a builder's defense deck. Okay, Brandon's Gift is good now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we can jump right into the plots then.
All right, so
that could be our first one of like talking about like, so you mentioned political disasters kind of had a recent resurgence.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
Well, because of how location heavy so many decks have gotten or have become. I think one of the biggest keys to that is there's so much econ for each faction now, and so many different options for econ.
Yep.
So right off the bat, you don't have I remember we joked about too, like at one point, oh, like you have your 3 Kings Roads, your 3 Rose Roads, and your 3 Reducers automatically. So you're
only building a 51 card deck.
Yeah, like that was what, a year ago, 2 years ago, we were like, oh, so no matter what, you have to have that.
Right. You have 9 cards automatically in your deck, plus the 3 reducers from your own house. Like now you're at 12 cards. You know.
And then if your Night's Watch, you're fucked.
Right. Because
But now there's so many more options for that, which I love as like someone who likes building decks.
Mm-hmm.
But since there's so many more options, it's really easy to go overboard. 2, so much of your econ now is spread. I mean, with King's Roads, you didn't always have a lot of locations on the board because you're sacking them back and forth.
Right.
Now with so many locations on the board, it's easy to play Political Disaster because everyone's going to have it's going to hit everyone now.
Right. And I think one of the big things is you have because there's enough econ, and econ's different somewhat, and so it allows you to have econ based on what your deck is trying to do. King's Roads you tend to see in rush decks.
Right.
Not in a deck that's trying to go the long haul. They don't want that location sitting on the board. They want, they want their 2 gold location or things like that. And so now, because you have enough different types of econ, your deck can be tailored towards it. And then I think one of the big things that help Political Disaster is you're now allowed to dupe limiteds. Yeah. Like unique limiteds, and that doesn't count as your limited for the turn. So now Tyrell should probably have Political Disaster in like most of their decks, while the meta is still location heavy. Because it's like the Arbor and Redwine Shred should be 3 ofs in all your Tyrell decks now. Yeah. Dupe them up, Political Disaster, save other ones, get rid of the dupe.
I also think that I'm trying to think off the top of my head if there's a faction that doesn't have utility locations that are almost 1-ofs in your decks.
What do you mean?
So something that so Tyrell, in any of my decks, I'm running Old Town or High Tower or High Garden or any of these locations that are going to do things. In Martell, I'm running Water Gardens, or I'm going to run
Dorn or Sunspear or Gaston Grey.
Yeah, or Gaston. In Night's Watch, take your pick.
Right.
Target, you're going to run Marine or Positive Pride. Like there's Stark, you have Skagos and
Winterfell. Yeah.
So not only that, so now every faction has solid locations that do cool shit to the point where you want those. They're so good that you almost want them in most decks.
Right.
Almost.
You want some version of it, right? Old Town's a card that you probably want in almost any deck because that can be a free power every turn. Draw a card and get a power.
And what excites me about Tyrell, especially when I was building, is that those kind of interactions that you can do with Old Town. Was it Mark Mullendor? Mm-hmm. Him, and then that spy guy, or the guy that flipped back and forth to the top of your deck.
Doing Septon.
Yeah.
Right, to make it more reliable to grab that top card.
Yeah, there were games where when I had that popping, and then Renly and Randall on the board, the game's short at that point.
That was one of the first regional I ever went to. I played Martell Lion, and I had Ariane and the Hound. And there was a game where I literally just I would marshal Ariane, use her in a challenge, pop her back, throw on the Hound, do a challenge with him, win, bring him back, maybe ambush fad more gold from Tyrion, things like that. There are those combos that once you get them rolling, the game's over.
Oh yeah, short unless you can kind of stop it, but. Those, and I remember playing someone at War, and they were they saw me get that stuff out, and I assumed they had no answers, so they're I should probably give up now because that's just going to roll me. Mm-hmm. And I was don't give up, let's just keep playing.
Yep.
And so we kept playing. And I did roll them, but it's fine.
I have had games though where it's either on Iron Throne or even in person here, where it's they'll kind of I'll get way behind quickly, or there'll be some terrible thing that happens. I'm well, I probably lost, and it's let's play it out though, and then I come back and win, and I'm ooh, I should not have won that game, But it's sometimes your deck has outs, and there's a guy I was talking to. He's one of the Wausau locals who has played Magic forever, but this was his first Game of Thrones tournament type thing. That Bratz recruited a bunch of those guys to play, and we were talking in the trial of 3, and I was asking him, I was oh, it's do you like it, or things like that. He's well, he's I feel sometimes the game is decided by the first turn. And I was see, I hear that a lot, and I even said that I was that might just be the mark of someone who's a better card player than me. I was because I don't see that as much anymore.
Yeah, I don't see it
against Sea of Blood. Sure, that is how it goes. If they can get off, because that is a classic snowball effect.
That's a weird one, because I agree. I fought 2 Sea of Bloods, and both times I didn't let them hit it, and I won those games.
Yeah, and right, because it's once they can get rid of a key character or a key location that's econ usually. How do you plan on winning that game? Because you don't have enough gold to get characters out, or they're killing your big characters. So then like you have even less military icons.
And it's one of those like when maybe it's just on Iron Throne that it feels like this because it felt different in person. It's just like it really does just feel like a snowball. Now you're losing like 3 characters a turn.
Right now it's like, oh, you have 2 things on you have 2 blood tokens on your faction card, and now you go and now you get we do not sow and put to the torch or and put to the sword on the same turn. Now you get all your events for free, basically. You know?
Yeah, and like like, oh, you have Isle of Ravens, of course you do.
Right. That actually happened in the store championship here. I was playing a Martell Sea of Blood, and I was playing the Martell Alliance Kraken Stag deck.
Yeah.
And he had 2 put to the torches in his deck. I assumed he had 3, but I pulled for Intrigue Claim out of 7 cards in his hand. I pulled the Citadel Archivist that shuffled everything back in, and he used both put to the torches. Once on my Iron Throne, and once on Dorne, I think, is what it was. I think he might have even had my Dorne at that point. But I put Iron Throne out like again, and it got put to the torch again. And it was one of those where I was like, man, Citadel Archivist, just like, first of all, what a cool card.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was rough.
So going back to political disaster, what do you think is the next plot that's going to see, or what do you where the meta shifting? What do you think is going to be coming up the ranks here?
I don't know, because that's what I wrote down about this. I said, what's next? And I said, well, where's the meta now? You know, I said the next resurgence depends on where the meta is and what counters it well. Right. At Worlds 2017, we saw a lot of crossing that was running Superior Claim, Clash of Kings, Weapons at the Door, high initiative stuff, Heads on Spikes. And it was because it counters control and combo that was popular at the time. All the Euros brought these crossing decks that went incredibly fast because they had been getting beat by combo all year in regionals and store champs. And so I think that like right now the meta is one, you have Sea of Blood is a big factor of it.
Okay.
And then with that, I don't know what else. Like aggro seems to just be common. Free Folk is still a deck, you know. It isn't in the war format because they ban it, but like Free Folk is still a deck, and so Sea of Blood and Free Folk are both aggro decks. So to counter that stuff, I really don't know. I don't know what plot is gonna either force march, but that's already really popular.
Right. And do you think that there is anything out there right now that can help? Because essentially, you're like, it sounds like what you're saying is control needs a piece that it doesn't have to outlast.
And I think there are cards that do it, like In the Name of the King for Bara.
Right.
That's a big one to help stop like some like big stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking about building a Bara deck recently and going back to 3 of In the Name of the King. And
yeah, Burning on the Sand really helps against Free Folk. Like, because it drops it to 0.
Right, yeah.
And like, so if you get one of those, you do it on the mill, and then they're not going to do the thing. And so then what? They're going to try to win an Intrigue to get the double. Like, they have to think about what to do next, you know? So, like, there are cards that do it. The new Bara plot that's going to be coming out in the box where it says, like, name a challenge. None of those can be initiated this round.
That's right, yeah.
That's a cool one. That's a cool one in, like, Melee, too.
What do you think about, like, do you think something like Calm?
I think
popular again? I saw 3 of them at War.
Yeah, and I had Calm in my testing until At the Gates came out, and I added that in. But I think it's possible you're going to see more Calm out because it's like, okay, well, I won't lose 2 characters against Sea of Blood. I'll just lose 1.
Right.
Same against you know, Free Folk or whatever, you know.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think I'm thinking Calm might go the way of like Close Call, where for a while people were kind of down on that plot. Now it's everywhere.
Close Call is really common. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that, like, it used to not be very popular, and now it is. And I think it's because, like, I almost don't know, like, why is Close Call so much better?
So I I feel like on message boards and talking to you and just talking to other people, I feel like no one likes Time of Plenty.
So here's what it is. There's a specific group of people, a vocal minority, that don't like Time of Plenty. And I'll tell you why, because I talked to Nick Hansen about this.
Okay.
Because he gave me one of the Time of Plenty, like an extra one, which I think I'm gonna give to you or whatever if you didn't have it. But a Time of Plenty, the new plot that was in the store champ.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll never play it. And I was like, well, you know, why don't you like? He's like, you know, it doesn't do anything. He's like, you're coming out even. You're giving your opponent a card. You're drawing a card. Like that doesn't do anything for you. It basically like the way it reads, its text is basically just blank, and you both draw an extra card this phase. It's a 6/1/1 with 7 reserve or whatever, and that's why people like it. People like it for its stats. It's a summer plot,
right?
So it can't be naveled. It doesn't have. You can't be riddled. It's got good reserve. It's got good gold. Like it's a safe opener, right? And that was another thing I want to talk about. Like what makes something a good opener, and a short like gold. Having good gold because you want to set up your board. Your deck is built for the long game, but also for a first turn.
Right.
You always have an idea of what you want your first turn to look like. Sea of Blood wants to get off a key, put to the torch, or put to the sword. They want big mill icons on the board on the first turn, and so you want a plot that will give you money to be able to build your board or your backboard however you want it to look, and you want something that is safe. And so like that's a safe one. But the guys in Wausau, they actually like Calm Over Westeros more than Time Plenty because they're like, it does something. You're stopping it.
I don't, as much as I really respect all those guys as players, I don't agree that it does nothing.
I agree with it in this. I don't think it's a bad plot. I'll say that. I don't think it's a bad plot, but I agree with them that it doesn't technically do anything.
Well, it does, but it puts you both at the same game state.
Right, so it doesn't do anything for you.
I guess if you're adding...
Because if the game state's staying the same, it's not really...
Well, the game state's not staying the same. You guys are both now at the same game state. You guys are both at a better spot.
I don't know. Sure.
Well, you guys both now have an extra card.
Right. I mean, this is something we talked about before. You were like, where you say like, well, I have to assume my cards are better than yours. I'm like, that isn't something.
I'm not even arguing so that was my Dragon's Tail argument.
You both have more options. You gave your opponent an additional option.
Right. Now we both have an additional option. I'm not even arguing that I'm hoping my card's better than yours. I'm saying we're changing the game state, but we're still at the same game. We're still equal, but we're both getting an extra option.
Yeah, and so that's where it's like, well, so it's not doing anything then. Because if you're both still equal, it has not helped you in any way over your opponent.
Right.
It has not given you an advantage or your opponent.
Yeah, so I'll go with you there. I'm not gaining an advantage by playing this. I might be gaining extra options.
Sure.
Or I am getting extra options.
You're getting an additional card, yes. And you're giving them an additional option as well.
Right.
Right. And so that's where it's like, I would never say Time of Plenty is a bad plot. I think it's a fine opener, but that's the only time I think you should play it. And I think there are potentially better openers. But I understand the idea that like it's not a plot that does anything. And you have 7, possibly 10 in your deck. They all should do something.
Okay.
And 6 gold. Trading with Pentoshi arguably would be a worse plot in that mind, right? If you're giving 3 gold to your opponent.
Yeah.
You have 10 gold to work with now, though. Like that's pretty big. If
that's what
if Time of Plenty read, gain 4 gold, give your opponent 3 gold, you're gaining a gold out of that,
Right. Do you think trading is a good opener?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this is something you and I talked about. I think because there are decks that want big characters and that you want to be able to put them out.
Sure.
This is something you and I talked about, and I said it's funny because Late Summer Feast is actually a better opener and trading's a better middle plot because Late Summer Feast, you're giving them cards. They already have a handful of cards.
Right.
Late game, you don't want to give them cards when their hand's been depleted.
Right.
Trading, you're giving them extra gold in the beginning of the game to play out more cards. Whereas in the middle of the game, their hand's been depleted. So giving them more gold doesn't do much.
Right.
Granted, there's now enough draw and economy that like...
Yeah, that's all. That makes sense in the broad sense.
Right, but yeah, I think trading's a fine opener. One, because your opponent isn't counting on that 3 gold. They're playing a plot that they have a plan of what they're doing with it. They're like, okay, I'm gaining 7 gold this phase from this Rose Road and Time of Plenty.
Right.
Like, I'm getting my 7 gold. When you get 3 more, it's like, oh, okay, well, what else can I do now? Sure, it like changes up what your plan for your turn was, which isn't a bad thing because you're giving them more gold.
Right.
But they weren't expecting that. So now it's just like a little added bonus for them.
What about so okay, let's get back to the generalities though. Like, what is a good opener? Or do you think it depends on your deck? Are there any plots that are always going to be good openers?
I think At the Gates will always be a good opener.
Okay.
I think
Is there a downside to that plot at all?
a downside is that it has 0 initiative, which I don't like in an opener.
Right.
If
Okay.
games are decided on the first turn, or if games can be heavily like influenced by the first turn, you want to be able to control what happens on the first turn.
Sure. Okay.
So 0 initiative, I think, hurts it. Other than that, no. Like, someone can riddle it, I guess, or I mean, it can be enabled. I enabled an At the Gates before testing because it was like, well, sure, go grab your like Great Hall or whatever, or your Gates of the Moon, but you're only getting 2 gold now.
Yeah.
But no, in general, I don't think there is, and it's funny because everybody in podcasts and stuff kept saying like At the Gates can be everywhere, and I haven't seen it much. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's players are bad or if it's people are afraid of getting riddled or what it is, but I haven't really seen that plot that much. I've been putting it in most of the decks I've been building, though. It's reliable Gates of the Moon.
Yeah. Well, and you get 2 limited that turn.
You get 2 limited that turn. Huge. Dude, taxation, not that great of a plot.
Save that because I want to get to taxation in a second here.
I like it, but go ahead. Yeah.
So what about back in the day, what was the biggest opener?
Noble.
What do you think about Noble now?
Wait, what?
What do you think about Noble now as an opener?
I think Noble's still good.
Okay.
I think that Noble is still good in certain decks. I think that because there are enough characters now and enough different styles of decks, your decks don't all tend to be mid-range like decks with lords and ladies, like high cost lords and ladies.
Right, which is interesting. Again, I remember at the time thinking like, wow, like I can't put Noble in this Night's Watch deck because I have no lords or ladies. What am I going to do?
Right.
What about okay? So let's go with another which I think I might have saw.
I gotta go take a piss real quick.
Okay, go.
I'll be right back. All right, I'm back.
All right, so let me ask you this. Probably the most common opener that I saw at War, and that I see a lot lately, and it's been around for a while, is Riddle.
Really? Okay.
So it was literally between Riddle and Time of Plenty.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive 6 out of the 7 games were those.
Okay.
I'm trying to think what another opener. I think one person might have opened Trading.
Yeah.
But then again, I also watched a lot of Thrones.
Right.
And Riddle was just everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not a person who really plays Riddle a lot.
Yeah.
So what do you think about Riddle as an opener?
That was another one you were thinking when you said what are always good openers. And I said At the Gates. I think Time of Plenty is another one. I do. I think it is a little boring. And I tend to not put it in my plot deck now that I've kind of heard the argument of like why it's a bad plot or whatever.
Sure.
But because I'm like, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, let me put Calm in there instead. Let me, have a little more successful building on my board, things like that. But Riddle's another one I think is like, sure, you can hit the wrong thing, but like Riddle's a great one. Riddle is a very good like opener.
Do you think that is it that the chances of hitting something bad are way outweighed by hitting something good?
Well, let's think of what are common openers. Time of Plenty. I say you end up on the better end of that deal. They have one more gold than you, but you won initiative and you get the extra card. At the Gates, you gain a location as well, and you won initiative. Trading, you gave them 3 gold.
Yeah.
If you're running Riddle, you might, like a lot of those decks, also run Varus, and it's like that used to be a super common thing where it's like you wanted like a Night's Watch Wolf. They like ran Riddle first plot because it was when trading was so popular and they wanted to hit trading because they're like, oh, dump out your whole board. I'm going to do first turn. What else? Summer Harvest. Beat Summer Harvest. You have to be first player, which you tend to not want to do if you're a deck that's running Riddle, but like you just gave them 2 gold. The 2 where it can hurt is one is March to the Wall.
Yeah, I was thinking about March.
But if you're in a position where if you're a deck that's running Riddle first plot, you're probably not a deck that is setting up a key character, like 2 characters. You probably want to Riddle a Marched. You set up 1 character, they set up 2 good ones. You want to get rid of both of them, which happens
a lot of times. If they're playing March, they don't want to double March.
Right, and that was something that I have definitely done is I've riddled someone's March knowing that it was coming. So I was like, all right, fine. Neither of us will have any characters on the board until the start of the turn.
And if you can, and that's one of those draw things, right? We're like, well, I mean, this is better for me ultimately.
Yeah.
Even though we're both at the same spot.
Right. Because if I set up 1 character, that means I probably set up a better backboard than you. Or I got characters in shadows or things like that, and now you have more gold, probably more gold worth of investment that you've gotten rid of than I did on setup. Falling from Favor is probably the worst one to hit.
Yeah.
Because you were not counting on sacrificing a character.
Sure.
That is because usually Falling from Favor is an opener for like a assault deck or something like that like doesn't set up characters.
Okay.
And like they want the high initiative because they win initiative and they don't lose anything and you're losing a character now.
Oh, so that's interesting. I haven't thought about Falling from Favor like that. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's probably the worst one to hit. But for the most part, like you hit Late Summer Feast. Well, you know what? You don't get anything out of that other than possibly some cards, but you want initiative. So It's like it doesn't. There's very few bad things to hit, and mostly it's just good for you.
What do you think about? And both of us have done this a couple times where those situations where you're opening up with Valor. Do you think that's always going to put you on your hind legs?
Yeah, but I think that's sometimes a fine place to be with certain decks.
That you kind of have, like, if you're at the point where you really need a Valor first turn because they had some absurd flop,
right?
And that's what you got to do.
And I think you should only do that if you have reliable econ.
Sure. Yeah.
I think At Prince Joint's Behest is always going to be a good opener for Martel. I used to not think that. I used to be against opening at first plot because I was like, well, you don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I used to think, oh, that's better like second or third turn,
I still think it's more interesting then, but yeah.
It is for sure. But like first turn it is. Like I think it's still a fine thing. With Valor, like, yeah, it is hard. You need to have lots of gold though if you're doing that because 0 claim hurts and only 2 gold really hurts.
Right. All right, what else we got for plots?
Let's see. We talked about auto includes.
Okay. So I think a lot of this is going to be repeats. I mean, do you think Valor is an auto include, or do you think one of the Valors is an auto include?
Nah. So what I wrote was it's funny you mentioned that because I said I don't think there are any more. I think you can build decks that don't want to reset, decks that want a specific reset, or decks that want many resets.
Okay. Agreed.
Like I think there are decks that you don't want Valor, you don't want Dohaeris, you don't want First Snow, you don't want any of it.
Okay.
And I think that I tend to not build decks that way.
Yeah.
I always want a safety valve.
Yeah.
But I think that some decks want Morghulis. I think some want Dohaeris, and I think those decks can be the same faction agenda and have a lot of the same cards, and like there are little things that would change based on which one you chose, right? I think Targ, for example, is a good example. Some Targ decks want Valor Morghulis. Those are decks that probably want to run Slaver's Bayport.
Right.
A deck that isn't running that, probably, if you're running Dohaeris, you don't want your Slaver's Bayports because you're probably not killing as many characters. I think the two do serve different roles. Wildfire is another one, though that tends to only be seen in Reigns decks or like your like uncommon deck that some like weirdo built that's really good.
I always forget about Wildfire. I like Wildfire.
Yeah. I like Wildfire too. I think it works in some decks. Oh, I got Wildfired by that Greyjoy Wolf deck.
Nice.
Because of course I did. He's thinking he has 3 big lords on the table, and I got nothing, So
right.
I think Wildfire can be really interesting, and I think decks that run multiple resets are usually really interesting because most people aren't expecting it.
Yeah. Was I? I think I was running both Valors in my plot deck at the end there.
Yeah.
3 Vares. So what about? All right. Auto includes Riddle.
No.
Time of Plenty, trading, late summer feast. Like, do you think?
I don't think there's any
late summer feast or trading?
What?
Do you think each deck is going to want late summer feast or trading?
No. I think some decks don't want either of those.
Wow.
I think a good control deck doesn't want either of those.
It's probably true.
Like Martell Assault that I saw a lot of in testing and building, in my group. They don't want either of those in their decks. They, it's like some that we have like fleshed out archetypes now,
Do you think that outside of resets, or that resets are the closest thing to auto includes that we have anymore with how many different decks are out there?
I think probably or openers. Like almost like 90% of decks want Time of Plenty, Calm Over Western. Here's what I'll say. Almost any deck could use Time of Plenty as a fine card.
Sure.
Fine plot. It used to be Trade Routes was an auto include.
Right, yeah. Which is funny because I never did that.
What? Trade Routes?
Just I use Trade Routes, but like I wouldn't always have it in there.
I basically did unless I was running like a PD deck. And I told you that before war. I said, I think every deck should either have Trade Routes or PD in it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I remember going back and forth with that.
Yeah, because I just felt like there's enough, like we talked about earlier, there's enough good locations. And when Trade Routes wasn't on the restricted list, like that is the best mid-game econ you can find.
Oh, yeah. And especially if you can like somehow either like coppers into it or fill your hand and then play it.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great card. But so I think like something like Time of Plenty or Calm or At the Gates can go in any deck.
Okay.
Fine. I don't think every deck wants it necessarily because you have decks that are going to want more control options and they don't want safe openers. They're going for like, I want to attack you openers, You know what
I really like with the plot deck, talking about that, is I loved, at one point I had a Martell build that ran the double marched.
Yeah.
Double marched, I think, I feel like no one ever really expects that.
Yeah, they don't. Double march is one of the most interesting things you can do.
Yeah. I think either marching to march is crazy or like marching early on and then marching plot 7. Because plot 7, everyone's always trying to figure out what that last plot is. And then when, especially if they look through your thing, you're like, oh, it's not going to be marched again.
Right. I think one of the most interesting things that can happen is like plot 6, though. Because you're like, well, which plot do I not want to pin?
Yeah.
If this game's going to go on another 3 rounds or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That's always interesting because I've definitely been there where I'm like, I don't really want to pin my Doharis or this other one, but
That's funny. I actually
I
never
have
think of that.
to.
A lot of times, if we're going that far and I haven't done it yet, if I haven't used my reset yet, it's because I'm in the lead.
Yes, exactly. And that's when I pin it. Is when I'm like, okay, I'm probably winning this game on pod 8 or 9, you know. So it's like it's fine that I pin it.
Dude, how many how many games have you done where you're like, I need to win this game by plot 6 because if I Valor myself, I've lost.
No, it happened against you early on when I was playing Martell Rose with Knights.
Oh yeah,
Or it was Tyrell's son or something. And I had Wildfire as my last plot, and it like killed like a ton of renown. And I was like, I win this. I was way up on you. I think I was winning like 12 to like little.
yeah.
I was way up on you and I had to Wildfire like my entire board away, and you won the game because it was like, well, I just got rid of all my renown. And I was like, I remember thinking then I was like, well, maybe it's one of those things where if I see on like turn 2 or 3 that like I'm gonna like do really well, I just Wildfire early on and then like flop everything out later.
I've mentioned this before. I used to love when I ran Wildfire a lot. When I couldn't commit to like Valor, I used to love using Wildfire for initiative.
Yeah.
And making sure I go first, getting the 4 gold, and like, okay, so maybe I lose one character, but I still have these guys. Like if I did the math, okay, like as long as like they don't do something crazy on their board, I got it. I'm gonna lose one guy, but I'm okay.
Right. You know, it is rare though where I'll be like, ooh, I'm gonna have to Valor myself, and it's gonna hurt a lot. It happens, but I think it's rare. Like 1 in 50 games, maybe.
Well, let's go to that really quick. How often are you paying attention to initiative and reserve?
So reserve, I think, is an easier answer. I think reserve, you have to be careful of how many plots you include that have low reserve.
Right. And then when you think of low, are you thinking like, is 5 low for you, or is it 4?
4 is low.
4 is definitely low, but
five has become acceptable.
Okay.
I think because there's enough draw in the game or things like that where I'm like, okay, I can have Force March, Trading, Valor, and like that's half my plot deck now is 5 reserve, you know? Yeah. But it also depends on what faction you're playing. There are 2 factions in particular, Night's Watch and Martell, that have reserve boosts.
Right.
So it's like if you're running those, you can get away with running double Force March or Political Disaster. You can get away with running those like little reserve things, but I don't worry too much about having a ton of reserve. It's that middle of like how many 4s do you have really? Because you can't have too many 4s.
Right. Yeah. Retaliation's 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's plenty of times where I have jumped out ahead with the Martell deck for some reason.
Yeah.
Those random times where, okay, I somehow have board control early on.
Right.
I don't really need to blank anything. I can just go on the offensive. Let's do retaliation now.
Right.
But then it's Martell, so I have like 8 cards in hand, and now I'm down to 4.
Right. Right. Let's see. How many have 4? I'm looking at it right now. Actually, quite a few. A Feast for Crows, Beyond Reproach, Breaking Ties, Compelled by the Faith, Coordinated Attack, Early Frost, Famine, Marching Orders, Now Comes the War, Political Disaster, Retell, Supporting the Faith, The Long Winter, The Red Wedding, Spider's Web. So out of those, you see Supporting the Faith, Retell, Political Disaster.
No one really plays Feast for Crows, huh?
No, not really anymore. I think it's just not.
I think it's a great plot.
I mean, it's an okay plot.
Is it 6?
Your deck has to be built around dominance, though.
What is that? What is stats on that one?
6-1-1-4.
Yeah.
That's, you know, gain 2 after it is, but like.
Yeah, your deck is
most decks don't care about winning dominance.
What's up?
Most decks don't care about winning dominance.
No.
The Iron Throne is like not popular anymore.
I know. I find it weird when I see that in decks that don't need it.
Yeah.
Where they're like, or every once in a while I'll ask them on Iron Throne if I feel like talking, like, hey, what's that in there for? And they're like, oh, you know, like, so I can win dominance.
Yeah.
But like, I think we're at a point where if you're doing that, you've wasted a slot.
Well, I used to do that with Night's Watch because it was another way. I don't have a ton of ways to gain power. I have the wall.
That's slightly different though. That's because you don't have ways to win power. Like,
right, and I think that's where it's okay. I think that I agree. I think if you're building a target deck, you probably don't care about the Iron Throne.
Right.
You don't need to, you know. So I think that's why Feast for Crows doesn't see much play because like it's not actually reliable to win dominance.
Sure. Yeah.
Unless you have Naga's Ribs or the Iron Throne.
Yeah.
So
Naga's Ribs. I forgot about the short bit Greyjoy had with dominance.
+2 per person in your dead pile.
And then you can just throw them wherever in there. Would Drown God won War or Drown God won Trial of 3?
Drown God won name day tourney, yeah.
That's cool, man.
Greyjoy's son, yeah. There was a weird moment. I think he probably wouldn't see him anyways, but he was playing against the Builders in top 16 or top 8. I think it was top 16. And he was playing against Builders, the guy who won, and he stole the wall turn 2 with We Take Westeros.
Nice.
Because he pulled it with like Intrigue Claim or whatever on the first turn. Which is like, that's where I'm like, that it like should not be able to happen.
Yeah.
Like, that's why like the pillage stuff and like taking your stuff like just like it so feels bad. I'm fine with it for a turn. I think it's a like recurable thing. It's like pretty bothersome, but he took that and then it was like plot 4 maybe. It was a trade routes into a trading, and the Builders dude won initiative and named Greyjoy first. And he went and like got the 3 golds from trading and then was counting all of the locations, and there was a ton of locations. He was getting like 20 something gold. And then he was like counting them, and the one guy was like saying something, he's like, yeah, he's like, that's even before like I count my regular gold. And then he just like counted his regular gold, put it on, marshaled, and then the Greyjoy dude started marshaling even though he was supposed to be first player.
Yeah.
And he goes start marshaling, and then Builders, and I noticed it, and I like asked someone next to me, I was like, isn't Greyjoy first? He's like, I don't know. And then the Builders player was like, I made you first, didn't I? And they were like, well, what do we do? And to me, it seemed it was a weird moment because the Greyjoy player kept saying, he's like, well, I just assumed he made himself first player. And I was like, dude, like you chose for his plot to go first. You know that he won an initiative and chose you to go first. Also, with Builders, why would he ever go second? Or why would he ever go first, you know?
Right.
So it seemed a little skeezy because he kept saying, he was like, I just assumed he like made himself first when he did that. And I like went over and I was talking to Jesse afterwards, and he's like, would you have made a different call? And I was like, no, I think the right call was made. Of what they ended up doing was just saying, we just assumed that the Builders player made himself first.
Okay.
Like, that's the best way to rectify that. I was like, no, I agree. I was like, honestly, it felt weird to me by the Greyjoy player because I was like, he just kept saying like he felt like a mistake. I was like, it seemed like everybody was aware and he let it happen.
Right.
Jesse was like, I've known him, you know, a long time. He's a good guy. I know he went like cheat. And I was like, hey, I take your word for it, man. I was like,
Sean?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on the Night's Watch team. He seems like a good guy.
Yeah, and I always thought so too. I liked him when he was on Beyond the Wall.
Oh, okay.
But like it seemed really weird, you know? And but I was like, dude, I'll take your word for it, man. I was like, it just felt weird to me, you know? But I was like, I think the right call was made too, which I thought was cool that Jesse was asking me if I thought like my call on something.
Oh, Jesse's dope, man. Like when we were at War talking about you, he's like, oh yeah, I know Stan. That's my boy.
Yeah. And I liked it because I think it's because I was the melee judge at Worlds.
Okay.
And so, him and I talked a lot about like different like interactions there and stuff. And so I felt like he thought that maybe I had some credence on things or whatever.
Nice.
Which was cool. But yeah, so it was like that was kind of a weird moment in like ruling or whatever. But I think we were talking about initiative. And so I think that with reserve, like I think you just can't have too many low ones with initiative. Some decks want high initiative plots. I've done it where I sort the plots by highest initiative, and I look at those. I'm like, okay, Clash Kings is up there. Sneak Tech, is that a card I want? Probably not. You know, Headland Spikes, is that something I want? Things like that. Love, like some decks want high initiative, and some don't really care. You have certain plots that you want, and maybe they're low initiative, maybe they're middling, but like that's fine. You're fine with like you want the plots for their effects, not you don't necessarily care about being first or second.
Right. I like Martell a lot. Wants some high initiative plots because they like need to go second.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's super interesting. I've also liked building plot decks where I need 1 or 2 high initiative plots because there's literally going to be one turn where I need to go first.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that'll be it. That'll be the end of the game.
Right.
I think that's always kind of interesting.
That's my builder's deck where I have a Clash of Kings and Wars of like I'm like that's the one where I need to go first.
Yeah.
And I flip that out and hopefully can. Force March is great with 9 initiative or whatever, 8 initiative, whatever it has. Like that's a great plot.
Oh, what about we never talked about what do you think about You Win or You Die?
Oh, I think You Win or You Die is the closest thing to an auto include.
Okay, sweet.
Yep, there you go. That's a great call right there. I think that's the closest thing you get to an auto include.
That's one of those. Yeah, that's one of those cards where, like, in a Martell deck that's not offensive at all, you can, once you've like essentially attrition your opponent, you play that and you go forward and you win.
It's the new retail for them. Like I think.
Yeah. Exactly.
I was playing a Martell Rose for a bit. There was like guard tech. That I was telling you about that. Like it had double retail in it, and I think You Win or You Die might have also been in it. And like on those turns, if you have the Arya Hota that claim raises, and you have Sun Spear, like it shuts them down.
I've never been able to hit my new Arya.
Oh, it feels so good.
I built that deck.
I've never been able to up him more than just one.
Yeah,
I've gotten +1.
I built that deck like right around the time the box went, and the deck worked okay as like an aggro Martell deck in general, but I never hit like that part of it.
Right, and I think you really, the good thing about him is he raises the claim on your plot card, just period.
Right, not
just for the challenge that he won, and so like that's pretty huge.
Nice.
If you can get, especially on a retail turn, if you can get 3 claim on everything, like they have lost the game.
Oh yeah, retaliation in general. I've played against Martell decks where their retaliation turn turns the game.
Yeah. So, but I think You Win or You Die is probably one of the best plots out there.
Sweet. Do we got anything else on there?
I know I do. Let's see here. Good opener. I want to talk about winter and summer real quick.
All right.
Because you asked if what is like winter and summer's place in the game now?
Yeah.
And I think the agendas are mostly dead. And I think they were just like placeholders until we got better agendas.
Okay.
Like it's like fealty of like you're gonna see fealty now, especially because like as the restricted list increases, it tends to be newer cards, not older cards. Like how many core set cards are on the restricted list versus the past couple cycles, So you have things that are like plots that were made in the beginning of the game that you just aren't going to see a ton of play. And I think winter and summer are two of those. I think that choke is like pretty much dead. Like we talked about it. Econ is everywhere now.
Do you think it was ever viable?
Not as like a championship level deck, but
no, it was always like
it could always blow you out. It was the original Free Folk, where it could always like blow you out, but then it was like took a while to win.
Right.
But it also could like fail. I think it was good as like Lanny or like a Night's Watch, like we're the two best at it because Lanny could treachery.
I feel like that Night's Watch White Tree deck. Wait, is it White Tree?
Mm-hmm.
That with contribution.
Oh yeah,
contribution. I feel like that deck was more annoying than anything.
Yes, I've lost that deck quite a few times because that is a deck. If that gets going and you don't have an answer for it, you're gonna lose.
Right, but I feel like so much of that deck was like focused on making sure that those pieces were working. One, if you were able to stop one of those, or two, like I played trading and I got my 8 gold, I was probably fine.
Right, for sure.
But if I played my noble and I got 3 gold, you probably are fucking me.
Right, and then that's where like the reserve matters of if they're playing winter.
Yeah,
like Kings of Winter. That's the other thing. Kings of Winter, the most common opener was like a Wraiths in their midst.
Right.
You also got -1 reserve from that, or -1 reserve from it, and so like -2 reserve. I forget.
Does that put you at 3?
They get -2, but you get -1 from your agenda. So it's like your reserve is now 4, and you only got 4 gold.
Right.
Like, what are you really doing with that? And so that's where, yes, if you flip into trading and I meter contribution and white tree you, you got 8 gold, but now you have 2 reserve or 3 reserve. Like you're also getting rid of the rest of your cards. You can't play them all out.
Yeah.
But I think the choke just like draw and econ are too like common now.
Yeah. I should mess with Winter. I wonder if there's anything there.
I think there's like a Martell Winter thing that can be kind of cool, like using opening like winter reserves and change of plans something.
Yeah. And I know Stark had like is going back to Winter tech, but I don't think they want to run Kings of Winter.
And that's the exact thing I wrote. It's like that, like winter is used as like a theme in Stark decks, but it's not Kings of Winter. You're not going to run it. You're just going to want like winter plots. And same like summer decks, like summer agenda is used when you're like almost like, well, summer's good by default because these summer plots are good.
Right.
You really use summer for the reserve, for +1 reserve and like +1 gold on your summer plots. So it's like +1 reserve and +1 gold each round. Like, I guess that's pretty good, you know, and you just like builders, you just happen like summer plots are fine.
Right.
And so you want econ to be able to get your stuff out and you want cards in hand.
All right, let's talk about traits really quick since we're talking about summer and winter, and then let's finish with what plot is interesting but you never play.
Okay.
So traits, I never really look at summer or winter.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely do look at Kingdom.
Yeah, I'll look at those a little bit. I think Naval like tends to not be run very much, but like, yeah, I don't look at traits too much. Schemes, obviously, if you're gonna run a Reigns, I will search, filter in all the schemes and see which schemes do I want to run. But for the most part, yeah, I'm not really looking at traits other than like summer or winter if that affects my deck in some way.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's it really, because there's random ones that have random traits like Omen. If you're running Craster still.
Right, and that's when I'm like, oh, I'm running Night's Watch Reigns with Craster. Okay, let's put more Golas and O'Hara's in there.
Right, because it's not going to do anything.
Right.
So that kind of gets into this last one. So I think, is it the White Shadows?
Yeah.
I think that's super interesting.
Yeah.
I have no idea what to do with it.
I know. That was one. Another thing you talk about was plots you don't understand. And the White Shadows was like the first one I put on there. Because I was like, I have no idea what people are doing with that.
Well, okay, so the one that plots I don't understand was taxation.
Oh, I understand that one.
But now?
I mean, now more than ever, probably. Because you're probably running more than 9 econ now. Like a lot of decks run like 12 econ.
Yeah, but you have non-limited econ now. You have Eleanor. You have At the Gates.
Sure. Yes, and I agree. Like At the Gates is better. At the Gates would replace like taxation now. But I get it just from the idea of like, I don't think it was a good plot. I will say I don't think it was a good plot, but I can see like why someone would run it.
All right, I guess I see. I guess I can agree with you there. I don't understand the design space of that.
Yeah. Well, so one I have is I don't understand the design space of Whisper Campaign.
Which one is that?
After a character without an intrigue icon enters play, kneel it.
Oh, I had that on mine too. Of like,
yeah.
Okay, like I get this. Like I guess I've been running a very strong Lanny intrigue heavy deck, but you're really banking on them not having intrigue icons, or maybe that person just doesn't marshal them at this turn.
And kneel to me, like when I see the word kneel, I think of Bara.
Yeah,
Bara doesn't have a ton of intrigue icons.
Oh, so that's funny too. Yeah,
that's not the deck you want to run that in. You know, I'm like, oh well, if you have Stannis out, then yeah, like they won't marshal anything. But like that's the point, right? Is that they won't marshal it. You want them to not marshal anything so you can do something.
Right.
That doesn't seem that interesting to me.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I mean, ultimately, this is the problem of a lot of these plots that kind of have that thing are in boxes that are supposed to counter. That was in the Watchers on the Wall box.
Okay.
It's theoretically a counter to builders.
Okay. Because builders are going to have power icons?
Yeah, but like, so what?
Yeah. There's so much stand in so many different factions now?
Well, I don't think there is that much stand, actually, when I was thinking about it. I think Stark has reliable stand, and Tark has some stand, but other than that, like, what factions stand?
Tyrell?
Oh, I guess with the courtiers.
Yeah.
And, yeah. but that's it.
Yeah, but I was thinking about Whisper Campaign 2. I feel like White Shadows could be used though.
I think my problem with it is, to me, that's like an overkill thing.
Oh, like how what's the card that does that? House of the Undying, almost.
Yeah. So after a character and opponent controls skill, put it in play under your control. While that character's in play, treats print text box as if you're blank. So you have to bank on them like valoring that turn to be able to like get.
So that's where I was like, okay, it's where I was confused of like, how do I do this? Am I running?
It's only at the end of the phase.
So I'm running like Punch and Sword. So I'm like I can get 2 people from you.
Yeah. That was that's actually the example I was thinking of, was like Sea of Blood. But then you only get them for the phase. If you're getting off a Put to the Sword, you're already winning.
Yeah.
It's like a classic overkill plot that like I just don't understand it. And it's interesting.
It almost needs to be like low stats, or what are its stats?
5, 2, 1, 6.
So it's not that bad. Like, it needs to almost be like 2, 2, 1 during challenges phase. You resurrect their dead pile.
Right. Basically a House of the Undying effect.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's the thing. That's like House of the Undying. You're like that's like a you win or you die type idea of like, I'm taking all the characters in your dead pile.
Yeah.
I'm putting them on the board. And I'm trying to smash you with it.
Yeah.
That's cool, but like White Shadows, White Shadows I just don't get.
Yeah, it's a weird one, and I think it has the others trait.
It has Omen trait.
Okay, it's the closest card we have to a White Walker card, right?
Yes, you're turning their character into a White Walker for the phase, but like that just can't be that good.
And it's just so even like, and then I was thinking like, oh, what if I was doing Alalani and I'm using Ellen, but that's out of marshaling? Then what am I doing with your guy during marshaling?
Right. Nothing.
And I was thinking, okay, what if I Ellen, kill your guy, take your guy, broken vows it back to you because I'm also running you all.
Yeah, I mean, sure. At that point, yeah, it's just a weird card for sure.
There's just a bunch of stuff that needs to happen for it to work, and it seems like such a drastic effect that I'm hoping something comes around that makes it, I don't know. And then at one point, like, fuck, do I even want that? Do I want some card that's going to kill multiple people in challenges phase?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, do I want to see people start running Frey Hospitality?
No.
Right?
The other White Shadows, another card from the Night's Watch box.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. I like it. What do you think about what's that? Oh, it's the card where like both of you have to like pop a character back during challenges phase?
Unexpected Delay.
Yeah, you used to run that.
I had it in like a deck or two. Yeah,
I like that card. I think that's interesting.
I've seen it played against me in a deck that was running like attachments, so maybe a cohort deck or something. But I was like, I don't know, because I think that the whole idea is you want to be second player.
Okay.
Like if they choose your character, you just want to be able to like choose it back or whatever.
Right.
But it has, I think, 1 initiative, so the other player is gonna go second. They're going to make you choose one of their guys, and then they're just going to pick the same guy. So you're really just getting one guy off the board that can have an attachment on him. Like, that seems like a wasted plot space, maybe.
What do you think about...
and it doesn't have great, like, stats thing. It has 3 gold on it.
Right. What's the other one? I don't think it's reinforcements.
Called into service.
Summon
to Court. Summon to Court is the one where you both show a character.
No, that's the lowest. The lowest cost one gets to play.
Summon to Court, yeah. Called into services, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a character, put it into play.
If not, get 2 gold or something.
Get 2 gold, yeah, and it only has 2 gold on it. I was like, that is a terrible plot. Unless you know how to stack your deck so that you can get a character off the top of it.
Okay.
It's an expensive character.
Right. So that you can get your gold's worth?
Yeah. It does. That's stuff like that where I'm like, you're devoting too much space to have a cute econ interaction, and you're not really furthering like your way to win 15 power.
Right. Agreed. And do you think it's too much work, like out of Tyrell, to do that?
Yes, because at that point you're probably devoting. Yes, you can have certain cards that would new mace, right? New
Yeah.
mace is something that would help you have a Renly on the top of your deck, so that when you flip them over, a Renly comes out. But
Yeah.
a Stinging Septon, you don't want 2 gold worth of character off that.
Right.
You know, in a character in play, that's not good. So I think you're probably devoting. It's not reliable enough to where you can just kind of have it, put it in a 7-card plot deck, and reliably trigger it for a good amount. And so you have to devote too many resources to it. And that point, like I said, you're devoting too many resources to an econ advantage.
Right. Right. Do you think we'll ever see Battle of Blackwater again?
That's my favorite one. That's the one I want to see more of.
Okay.
I hope so. I think Battle of Blackwater is an extremely interesting card.
Me too.
I had it played against me and just wrecked me at Game Night Kit in AZ. I was playing against Paul. He was playing Martell something. And I was playing a Tyrell Lion. And I had a trip duped Marge. Like the big Marge with it goes and finds the lords and ladies. And he played Battle Blackwater. I mean, had to get rid of both in New Valley next turn, and like I win that game if I had saved a dupe before, you know.
Nice.
So that was rough, but like I think that's such a cool plot.
What about I've always wanted to mess around with Grand Melee.
I think Grand Melee's actually like has like a space in like good decks. I think Bara and Night's Watch both can use it.
I was gonna say like it's got to be good in Night's Watch decks.
Yeah, I think it is good. I had it in my Night's Watch summer.
Okay.
Because you know, it can backfire, I guess, if you're not finding your Shadow Tower Masons or entry icons or whatever.
Right.
But for the most part, you're forcing them to commit multiple people to a challenge.
Right, and then if I'm playing my deck right, I should be okay.
Right, it's great in Bara because you can kneel characters with different icons to where they can't actually hit you with anything.
Sweet. All right. Any other last plots that you think aren't seen play that are kind of interesting?
No, I think you got like some good quality plots. You got good openers. You got good resets now. And I think that depending on the meta, you're going to see like interesting includes like weapons at the door, or your king commands it, or things like that are just like going to be like fun ones. I'd like to see winter be a theme that isn't free folk.
What about okay? So let's real quick. King's plot I saw a lot too at War.
I hate King plot.
I saw King's plot out of decks that weren't running Kings.
Yeah,
like fuck them, dude.
That seems like an odd choice. Fortified Position. That's a card I'd love to see more play.
Yeah, I was just looking at that one. Okay.
I think that's a good one. I think that's a good card, and I'd like to see that get more play. I can't build a deck that doesn't rely on character abilities, so I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, I like too many tricks and bullshit that's going to hide from you.
And I don't know how to build a deck that wants to take advantage of the fact that, yes, I have triggers that I would like to do, but I want to stop more of yours. Like, I don't know how to do that. I know some people have talked about Fortified Position being in certain plot decks recently.
Yeah.
But I just, like, I can't imagine what that deck looks like. So.
Last thing I want to talk about is, what do you think about that new builder that was in that pack?
Age Craftsman?
Yeah.
Stupid, ridiculous card.
What is it? When he hits play.
When he enters play, search top 10 cards of your deck for Night's Watch location, 2 or lower, and put it into play. Yeah,
and he's Shadows or Ambush or something?
No, he doesn't have either.
Oh, okay. I was thinking like if you can just cycle him, like he's like a fun. Oh, that's what I was thinking. I kept thinking about Journey to Old Town.
Oh yeah.
And if you keep like journeying him to Old Town, you can just keep cycling through your deck really quickly.
True. I use him as military claim.
Yeah.
After I do it because I don't need it. The best thing to do is you flee bottom alley, him in, search top 10 cards of your deck for the location, throw it into play, shuffle your deck, and then you get to draw a card off Flea Bottom Alley.
Wait, how?
Flea Bottom Alley's text is like put a Night's Watch character 3 cost or lower into play from your hand.
Okay.
Your deck, or into play from your hand, and then the last sentence is draw a card.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's
his reaction. It does everything. Then you draw a card. It's like super sick.
That's its new econ, kind of.
Yeah, that was its 1 cost econ.
That was its gates.
It's a King's Road for Night's Watch characters plus draw a card.
Yeah.
Super good.
All right, man. So let's do this again. Let's try building that Sandsteed deck on here.
Okay. I don't know how to do it, so you'll have to help me.
I'll talk you through.
I tried a lot, and I can't figure it out.
Well, we'll just spitball, and then you'll test it, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about what happened.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
Sweet, man. All right, it was great talking to you. I will see you soon. Bless, why don't you play us out here?
See you later, man.
Hey, later, dude. Have a good day.
You too.